If you're wanting to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, here's exactly what we did with Ryan, Alex, Braden, Tom, Adrian, Baden, and many other legends. Now, I've been coaching people just like yourself for over a decade now, and if you do want to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, here are the only 4 ways it's going to happen, and also the 4 ways on exactly how to do it. So it really only works if you fall into one of these buckets or multiple of them. The first bucket is if you are new to weightlifting, and when I say new, I mean if you haven't been consistently weight training for probably honestly 3 years or more, then I would classify you still as a newbie, which is great because then you can build muscle and lose fat at the same time. Now, the second bucket is simply if you're coming back from some time off the gym. Maybe you took a holiday, maybe you got injured, or maybe you honestly just couldn't be fucked training anymore. Now, I apologize for the atrocious handwriting, but CBF/D trained is what I like to call the second bucket. Now, if you're in the second bucket, I would probably classify this as at least a month off, but like if you've had 3+ months off, you'll 100% fall into this bucket here and you'll definitely be able to build some muscle and lose fat at the same time. Now, bucket number 3, I have a special name for this one, it's very scientifical, but bucket number 3 is basically if you've just been training very quote unquote suboptimally and you haven't been following a program, sometimes you skip workouts, sometimes you do take breaks. The scientific term for this is the fuckery. Basically, if you've just never followed a training program, never tracked your calories, never tracked your macros, never try to stick to a diet, you just kind of go through the motions when you're there, never really trained hard as well, take days off when you want, pretty much just everything not ideal. If you're in the fuckery, you'll definitely be able to build some muscle and lose fat at the same time. Bucket number 4 is very, very simple, and you're more than likely not in this one, but hey, maybe some of you are. The 4th bucket is if you're on the secret subs. So like I was saying, if you are in one, and especially if you're in multiple of these buckets, then to do this, there's gonna be 4 main things that you need to focus on. You just need to absolutely nail these, and honestly, this is all we did with Ryan, Alex, Baden, and all the other legends. Now, number 1 is of course gonna be your training. Now, believe it or not, the amount of people we get apply for coaching and they have this goal of losing muscle, losing body fat and building muscle at the same time, but don't do any form of training and don't want to do any form of weight training is actually crazy high. So this is why it sounds so simple, but I need you to understand, if you do want to build muscle and lose fat at the same time, your training has to be a non-negotiable. It can't be one of those things like, oh yeah, maybe I will add it in and it'll be a beneficial little cherry on top if I do train it. No. It has to be a non-negotiable. And in our experience, all of those clients that we just showed before, they were training at least 4 times a week or more, but I think you can get away with anywhere from 3 to 5 times per week training as long as you're consistent with it. Now, the next thing you're gonna have to do with your training is progressive overload. So over the weeks and months is adding more weight or adding more reps, training with better form, or doing more working sets. Because if you don't do that, then your muscles have no reason to grow. And the easiest way to make sure you're actually doing that is to just track the majority of your sessions. That way you know, okay, this is what I did last week, and you can try and beat it. And if you're one of those people that don't like to stick to a program perfectly, I completely understand that. I would at least try to stick to 60 to 80% of one, or just track at least most of your main lifts and just try to progress on them, because you'll be surprised, even getting an extra couple of reps each week, that compounds over these months and makes a huge difference to your progress. And probably the most important thing to remember with your training is honestly, like, don't get lost in the weeds. Just stick to the basics. 80% of the time, do the basic lifts and you'll be absolutely sweet. And whatever you do not get sucked into any body recomp, target your lower ab fat exercise BS, because that's exactly what it is. It's just BS. It might not be sexy for an Instagram reel, but it's what works. Number 2 is your nutrition. In order to build muscle and lose fat at the same time, you'll have to be in a calorie deficit. And most importantly, making sure that you're eating enough protein so it can support the muscle growth and also your recovery from the hard training as well. If you have no idea how many calories you should be eating, then I've got a free macro calculator. I'll pop it in the description for you. This will give you a very good guide. But if you do know your TDEE number, or your maintenance calories, basically how many calories you eat to stay the exact same weight, then you probably want to go about 400 or 500 calories under that and start there. Now, when it comes to your protein target, like I said, this is the most important thing. I would highly recommend eating at least, hopefully you can read that right, 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight, or 2 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. So anything in between there, I should have said, anything in between 1.7 to 2 grams in that range is going to be enough. For most of the lads, we went a touch higher, closer to the 2 gram per kilogram of body weight, because it also helps keep you full, and I personally think it helps quite a bit. Now, obviously the theory of that is great, Like that sounds very good and easy, but remember, it is simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. So to get this amount of protein in per day, I would highly recommend spacing your protein out as evenly as you can. So for example, if I'm 80 kilograms, then I would probably want to get about 160 grams protein per day. Like I said, if I fall a little bit under that, I'll be totally fine, but I personally like to aim for at least that. So if I say I eat 4 times a day, roughly 40 grams protein each meal, that'd be more than optimal. But as long as you're hitting that target or close to, you'll be totally sweet. And to make this easier, you can do simple things like chucking in protein powder. For example, two scoops of whey protein will give you about 50 grams of protein. So that first meal is already ticked off. And then something that really helps myself and our clients is trying to keep meals nice and simple and prep in advance. So for example, stuff like this, I just made this like simple spag bowl, chili con carne, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm no Gordon Ramsay, but it works. And then I can just heat up some microwave rice and I'm good to go. If you're unsure on what foods are high in protein, you can screenshot this simple cheat sheet as it will help you out and give you a rough guide to get started. Number 3 is sleep. Honestly, try to think of sleep as like a natural steroid. There is endless studies showing how important it is and beneficial for building muscle, losing fat, and also controlling hunger and cravings as well. And again, as you can tell by the theme of the video, just keep it stupid simple. You don't need to buy any fancy things for your sleep. You honestly just need to nail the basics. So for most people, around 8 hours is probably going to be the sweet spot. You might need a little bit more, or you might need a little bit less. A few things that help me is having a simple bedtime and a wake up time, and also trying to avoid drinking any liquids about an hour or so before bed, as this just helps me avoid waking up 17 times a night to chuck a pee. Chuck a pee? Chuck a pee. And honestly, that's about it. That's all I do for sleep. And number 4 is to be stupidly consistent with it. As you can see, it's the simple basic stuff. Again, no magic potions. And please keep in mind, it won't take a few days or even a few weeks. It's gonna take at least a few months of nailing those 3 things consistently that we just went through to see this happen. And just remember, sometimes less is more. The reason why I don't like to get so deep into all the weeds of those things we just went through is because whenever I've done that with people in the past, they don't even start because it's so overwhelming. That's what I personally find with anything new I'm trying to go into or learn. Honestly, that's all our clients did with those 3 things. Nail the training that we went through, nail the nutrition and the protein target, nail your sleep, and then your lifestyle habits will literally fall into place as well. And if you want to see how my client Jovan went from about 30% down to 12% body fat and see how long it took him, then you can check out this video here.